Alright, is the music too loud compared to my voice? I think this music's naturally low. But yeah, I'm gonna go through the run, but obviously not through all of it because there's like a lot of fucking filler content. But I'll probably just like kind of go through like the important stuff, like about this run in general. So you'll have to excuse me because I will talk for like about 3 hours worth. But yeah, also feel free to ask questions. About the run or anything as we go. Hey, talking for 3 hours is tiring. I can attest to that. I have done Galdera runs before. Yeah, I'm gonna run the Edge for a minute 30, so nobody gets edged, and then we'll start. So that nobody gets edged in, I don't know, 90 seconds. Or if they come in within 30 minutes, because if they come in after 30 minutes, it's a skill issue on their part. But yeah, again, the video if people wanna watch is here. And I did write a commentary notes on it, which I will, when I make my commentary video, I'll upload it after. And if it's a little scuffed, let me see if it's scuffed. If the... Okay, that's not scuffed. The chat looks good. Yeah, you guys get scuffed the chat here, because I typically don't put chat in, but just in case people wanted to ask questions, it's there. And the YouTube gamers will see it. I will... So the reason why I'm using Spotify music is I have like my own voice in the video because I don't usually split audio and stuff because that's a lot of work to do, so you'll have to bear with me. Okay, I think Edge is over, so... Alright, so since I need to get to sleep, we'll start, so... We started Tressa here because it's our main Sork is Ophi. This route has changed quite a bit in like a year and a half, or like 2 to 3 years. So we used to use a Cyrus Sork, which also with Cyrus Sork you can use Tressa start, but it's gonna be obviously slower. But since we're now using Ophi, Tressa start is pretty much mandatory. So we're just gonna go through Tressa's story here. Thankfully, she's also very useful, and since she is obviously overpowered, she's got a purchase. She makes money for you for free just by running around. And of course, she pays to win. So I do buy the extra healing grape here, especially for a Kate route, because you don't get a free heal since you don't kill the guard. I mean, not the guard, but you don't kill a pirate in Kate routes. Yeah, nice discount. I think she has like a 10% chance at like low level NPCs to get a discount, which is, I mean, as you see, obviously very useful. The 4 leaves is a lot. But yeah, you'll notice also here I start walking. It's just because I only ideally want to get 2 encounters here. If you run the whole way, you tend to get 3. And on average, it'll save you more time, unless you just YOLO run and only get 2 encounters, which I'm too lazy to do. I don't think it's worth it for a Galdera run, so I just walk both of the encounters, and then base where I land on the second encounter, I'll decide whether or not like I just run for it or just walk some of the way through. But yeah, generally if you're like at the bottom of the stairs, you're pretty safe to run the rest of the way through without getting an encounter. So you won't notice it here immediately, but I do kind of... Well, I actually failed this one, but you can actually, like, at the end of that second dialogue where Tressa speaks, you can, if you press X or E at the correct time, it'll automatically skip the dialogue and save you a little bit of time. It's a lot more useful when you're doing, like, kind of chapter transitions, because you generally have to, like, wait a split second. But yeah. In the non-Kate route, you kill this pirate here, but we don't, so... We don't get the heal, so that's why having the fourth healing grape is useful. So this hasn't really changed that much since I think there is an alternate strat with Mick and Mac, aside from like the really old strat which had to use to get the Thunder S for it, but I'm just very used to doing the old strat since I know damage pretty well, most of the time anyways. So you basically use trade winds 3 times to break Mick here and then just kill him. And then... Yeah, here, so like if you get really unlucky to turn order here, you can pretty much just die, even at full HP, without the pirate XP. Yeah, this one's, I mean, there's not much to say about this. You basically do the standard strat. Like, I think the alternate strat, like, basically is, like, very linear, while this, like, older strat kind of, like, changes based on, what you do, but, like, I'm just used to doing this, so... So there you go. So I do want to mention that this is with the Kate mod. So if you don't know what the Kate mod is, the Kate mod... So normally, like, regular Kates, they have a 3% chance to appear in each in most areas. There are some areas where it's 4% instead of 3%, but that's not important for this. But basically, once we go to North Atlas Dam Flats, you'll notice it's going to be aptly named North Atlas Dam Cats. So the Kate mod just ensures 100% spawn rate in that specific area. So I use it for Galdera because I do not want to grind 3 hours for a Kate to do a 3-hour run. I don't find that personally very fun. I actually don't mind not using the Kate mod for single story runs. But for like much longer categories like this, I kind of do mind, so... And this particular route, I don't think it's changed since Quadra got his last run. But this particular route, like, there's a lot more noticeable time save if you get a Kate, because with this route you actually delay getting Cyrus instead of like the older route where you had to get Cyrus, because I believe this route skips grabbing empowering bracelets from Saint's Bridge, so not needing Cyrus for that is pretty big, because you used to have to do a 30% scrutinize, which is not very fun. So yeah, here I generally like go break encounters if I'm lazy, but obviously for double encounters you just have to escape. So for Kit's side quest, you need to do like his first 2, and then you need to do like the other one with the guard. So I think it's a total of like 5 side quests, because there's 2 with Kit, 2 with the guard, and then one last one with Kit, and then the Galdi one. But yeah, thankfully here, like, you can actually choose to break, like, almost all of these encounters. Like, the frog and pig here are weak to, bows. But I just don't mind escaping from it sometimes. But yeah, that's, the walk to, you have about, like, 7 or 8 encounters, so, like, technically, the Kate chance is, like, a 15%, or, I guess, like 10 to 15% if you really want to add it, but I still don't find it fun. And I have done the cake grind before. I know what it means, so I have done the grind. It's not a fun grind. But you can feel free to call me a cheater for needing the cake mod. But yeah, it's not this walk to the Scholar Shrine was not the best here because I did fail a lot of escapes, but it's not a huge deal. Like, something like this is the least of my time loss. But yeah, as you see here, it's named North Atlas Dam Cats. Because oh my gosh, we're so lucky. Oh yeah, I actually got caught by surprise here. I think, yeah, I think I got lucky here because I got Vigilance. Because if I had to fail, I have to go find another kitty, which loses another 10 seconds, but yeah, as you see here, I'm gonna learn Hired Help because it will help for this battle coming up. It's like a 10% chance to not get this encounter, which saves you like a significant amount of time, which yeah, in my PB I did not get the Scholar Shrine encounter. But it's not, but given Galdera's nature, like, having a lot of variants, it's not, like, a huge deal. Like, you don't need, to skip the Scholar Shrine encounter. I do reset if I die, though, just because at that, like, in the 8 minutes, it's not really worth, going at it again, especially with the Kate mod. But yeah, I got the blind here, which is pretty lucky. And so basically, like, in Galdera runs in general, you spend like the first 40 minutes doing exploration and having to round up and tag a bunch of towns that like aren't that like the bare minimum towns that you need, and then you get everything that you kind of needed to start out. But yeah, here, like, we due to the Kate giving us 150 JP base, we have enough to learn evasive maneuvers. So evasive maneuvers lets you... evasive maneuvers doubles the amount of steps that you can take before you get an encounter. So it makes running equals walking. So a very useful exploration tool. But yeah, I do... like, this run does feature, like, my fair share of mistakes. You're gonna see one coming up here because r/I'm very smart. But, like, it's not... like I said, failing... like, making a few, like, minor mistakes isn't, like, the worst thing. Because, like, these don't... like, the time loss here is honestly not that much because, like... my exploration, in my PB, I died in Everhold tunnels, which is about a 50-second time loss. And that's pretty much a lot more significant than, like, being an idiot in this encounter, because thankfully, I don't really get too many encounters after this. So... like, as you see here, like, I'm 32 seconds behind, but once I finish Guardian, I'll be around, like, 20 seconds ahead. So I'll skip through, I guess, walking this part, we're just tagging cobblestone, but you all notice I do buy Curious Blooms. I just buy it here because I'm accustomed to doing so. But yeah, we're gonna head over to Stoneguard. And this is another area where you can commonly get encounters. I think in my PB I actually get an encounter from the Warrior Shrine to Stoneguard, funny enough. But yeah, we're pretty much doing like a lot of like smart tagging, like anything that's like, oh, okay, it's not, this isn't it. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. I think it was another run where I got one from Warrior Shrine to here. But yeah, no encounters here, so like that's a nice trade-off. So yeah, you're gonna be noticed here coming up, I do the good old save and quit method here, so walking from here directly to the Merchant Shrine is like, I guess like a 5% chance of being able to get it. So it's just more worth it to just to save and quit and reload your save because it'll reset the step counter. I used to, like, at low HP, just let myself die to the pirates, but I think on average, it's slower. Hello, hello. I won't be answering chat too much unless you have questions, by the way. If you have, like, specific questions about a run, so... Yeah, Merchant Shrine here, we're just doing more boring exploration. Tagging, Gold Shore. But yeah, this is actually like an area where you can lose a lot of time because this whole entire Grand Port area is encounter hell, which is why like having good movement is extremely important here. So I should note that I do play this game with a controller primarily. You can use either a controller or a keyboard. Like keyboards have faster inputs on average than controller, but since you only have the 4 cardinal directions when it comes to movement, you basically have a higher chance of getting encounters if you play on the keyboard versus playing on the controller. So controller allows you to do more precise walking, which to me is a lot more crucial, and not getting encounters because getting encounters loses you a lot of time. So this is another infamous area where you can get plenty of encounters. I do use a controller for this run, if that's what you're asking. I'm primarily very comfortable using a controller in general for the speedrun. Like very ideally you hybrid. Like you do controller for movement and for menuing you use keyboard, but I'm personally trying to train for it. But it's not like a huge deal because you can be really successful doing either. So in my opinion, it's just a matter of personal preference. But yeah, you'll see here I buy a bunch of pomegranates for later since we have money and we're on the way. Yeah, I do keyboard for fun runs and to train myself because keyboard is a much different experience. But yeah, we're gonna grab a lot of money here because Grand Port is a lot of money. Yada yada yada. We're gonna do more tagging here. So I should note here, like this item here is optional to get the old coin, but since I do buy more stuff than what Quadra's Kate route suggests, I pretty much always pick up the extra items or the extra money items here, just out of preference to make up for it. Because I do buy, I'll explain later, but I do buy like extra pomegranates and the other Invigorate M nut for Ophi early on. Yeah, we're exploring Clearbrook, we're tagging places. Go through Quarry Crest, and yeah, here, like, we tag here because we'll need to go here later, and it also conveniently starts Tressa 2. And you can do a decent amount of her chapter 2 while, like, doing other stuff, so, like, in this speedrun generally, just, like, multitasking is a nice thing. Also because it saves on walking, as you'll see. So let's just skipping cutscenes, just going through it fast. We're gonna buy the Thunder M and L here because it's nice to have and it's on the way. And I personally just buy like all the convenient Curious Blooms I have. So I get a total of 4. to use, and then if I know I get another one, then if I know I need another one, then I can just grab one much later on. But yeah, you also notice I do buy a lot of soul stones. I think this is kind of like leftover from the non-K route, because the non-K route has to use more medium stone or soul stones to make up for tougher bosses, but I still buy it anyways because it's just generally very useful. And yeah, open world routing is just like, it's really good. So another big difference in this route, since the last time I did this speedrun like heavily was 2 years ago with Cyrus, so a lot has changed. But as you see now, we're buying the elemental robes. So these elemental robes will allow us to kind of pretty much delay having to buy the really expensive Sork robes early on. And being able to delay the money needed is actually pretty nice, because we'll end up skipping, like, because we used to in the Galdera route do Atlas Dam quest, but now we can pretty much just skip that. And because we get a lot of money later on, so it perfectly makes sense to just buy the Stork robe later, and we can still do all the damage that we need with the elemental robes just fine. But yeah, this is another common area where you get encounters. Thankfully with just Tressa, it's not a big deal because you can break all of them, pretty much. But I got the good old green eggs and ham. You can kill them, or I just break them with mercs, because they deserve to live. But yeah, in this route we pretty much get Therion second, which is pretty nice because Heathcote isn't very tough. Heathcote pretty much just dies to a Thunder Elstone. Yeah, we grab Therion here. We don't save and quit here because the first encounter here is static. As you see, you get a guard here. So, in the non-Kate route, you'd probably kill this encounter with the stone, but we can just, it's just a single guard, and if Therion's first, we can just break. But yeah, as you see here, yeah, you see Heathcote and he just disappears. Woohoo. But yeah, I do lose a little bit of time here. Like, your average time for this is, about a 14, like, I think a 14:30 or so. Like, if you get no encounters, you'll probably get around a 14:11. So, yeah. You also notice I do steal the Palm M and the Nourish Nut. Basically like we buy nuts which raise like base stats of a character, and they are gonna play a very important role, like a really, really important role in helping like basically stat calculation. But yeah, after this we do really more boring exploration. Woohoo. Funny enough, yeah, I always did reload here because for whatever reason the Victor's Hollow area, like the amount of steps you take to get an encounter is much shorter. Yes, T-Tar is my favorite Pokemon. But yeah. I'm just, we buy more nuts here. But yeah, we're gonna grab the Hunter Shrine here. Grab the Olive Life. You don't really need to sell the Olive Life, but I personally use it, like for bad in ambushes if someone dies. So it does have a use, but if you're like really desperate for money, you can sell them. They're kind of a last resort item to sell because they're pretty far down the item list when you try to sell them in the shop. Also here, you'll to get to the cleric shrine, you're gonna take a really specific path here. Like you'll notice after that, I think that second little fence post thing, I pretty much start walking diagonal to basically try to best reduce the amount of steps here, because getting an encounter here really sucks. Because it'll kind of force you to use the Thunder L, which honestly soul stones in this route are L stones in this route are really valuable because you don't have a lot of them. Like you basically have 2 extra to use because you need to for Dracing. Thankfully, in this route, the trade-off is that you get much less, you don't get as many encounters, you don't get as many, like, high-level encounters. So yeah, you grab the the Cleric Shrine, we tag Still Snow, and then we're gonna head up to, basically, the mall for free money and one of the Adamantine hats. So we do grab 2 Adamantine hats, but in this route this time, we delay getting the second one. So we used to get the second one in Ophi 4 at the cost of pretty much always having to kill that encounter, but we basically skipped that in favor of just grabbing the Oasis hat in place. So in the mall here, we'll grab 30k plus the Adamantine hat. Also, a nice place to grind Kates because all Kates here can spawn at like, I think 4 or 5% encounter rate, and they all 3 can spawn at once. So yeah, exploration is just basically like almost 40 minutes long. So just put that into perspective. So, but yeah, the open world exploration is actually really good because there's a lot of room for creativity. Especially once you get evasive maneuvers and you can pretty much explore the world. Like, the route has evolved a ton since the Galdera route was born. Which I guess I forgot to explain the objective of this category. This is to defeat the final boss. The secret final boss. The Waldi, as I like to call him. Probably, like, it's like, Galdera is, like, technically partly beginner-friendly, but I would say it's not 100% beginner-friendly because the last ending part, the Gate of Finis, is pretty much a gauntlet and you have to do it all once, or else if you make a mistake, you lose 15 minutes plus of your time. And there is a chance on the final boss that you die and it's not your fault. So, basically, I wouldn't call it a 100% friendly category. I would probably think of all main stories as the more friendlier category. But this category just has a lot of really cool strats in general. And you get to see tough bosses get blown up pretty much. And so soul stones are not finite. You can, like, constructs in tier 4 or in high level areas like the chapter 4 areas or like the shrine. So it tends to be constructs and elementals that will drop L stones. And I think, and sentinels in the low level areas will drop small ones, and I forget which ones drop medium. But I do know there are those that drop medium, so you can technically steal an infinite number of soul stones. So they are not finite. But soul stones, like, are in general, like, naturally a rare drop. I think they're like 10% or like something really low. But if you do get a soulstone drop, it's just really nice. But just don't expect to get it like on average in a Galdera run. Because I think like I've done like quite a few finished runs, and I think only 1 or 2 runs I've gotten a natural soulstone off an encounter. So, but yeah, here, you'll notice I also buy the Invig M here, even though Quadra doesn't buy the Invig M. in his notes. So this is because if you only use one Invig Nut instead of two, being under-leveled is really bad. Also, I'll explain in a second why I buy those 2 Palm M's here. Like, if you're under-leveled, you don't hit 164 SP at Yvonne, which means you're gonna have to use your Rev Jam early, or you're gonna have to like think of something really creative to deal with that, or like spend extra turns. So if you're new to like Galdera, like speedrunning Galdera in general, I don't think skipping it is a bad idea, but like at my level where I just tend to skip encounters and just like play it by ear, essentially, like I will pretty much like sometimes I tend to just like be under-leveled at Yvonne in general. But yeah, I also buy those Palm M's because sometimes they're useful to deal with like the Chapter 4 encounters and as well as the Archmage Shrine encounters. You can also just like, to save some money, steal them in during after OFI 3 instead, but I just choose to buy them there since I grab extra money anyways. But yeah, we're heading into the last stretch of exploration here, which is in the Everhold area. So we're gonna grab even more money in the Light L. We're gonna save and quit here twice to get through encounters. It's pretty rare to get an encounter here. Of course, if you're playing on keyboard, the chance for an encounter is higher than average than if you're playing on if you're playing optimally on a controller. But yeah, we don't buy we're not buying the Sork rope here since we don't need it, and shifting the money needs is actually much nicer. It does come with a couple of effects, which I'll explain later on. But yeah, we're gonna save and quit here again. Just gonna skip through that. But yeah, this chest has an M here. We just always grab it because since Tress is running through the area, it's more free money anyways. But yeah, this is also a pretty cursed area because I think it's like a 10 to 15% chance to get an encounter here. And if you get an encounter here, which I did in my PB, you lose like 50 seconds. It's a lot of time loss. But yeah, there's also a lot of really useful items here and some crucial items that you grab here. Such as the Knowledge Staff and the Death Cleaver. That second job that gives you less encounter chance. So the Scholar Shrine is the job that gives you evasive maneuvers, which increases the amount of steps, and you get it like with Tressa Kate around like 9 minutes. Technically, with Cyrus, if you do like Tressa start with non-Kate, you can get it earlier than that. If you can get it a little bit early, you can get it a little bit later than that. And if you do Cyrus start, you get it really early, like with the Kate mod, like 6 minutes. Slash if you get lucky. But yeah, after we get our items here, we're gonna start Therion 2, and yeah, since we don't buy empowering bracelets here, we just make up for it by buying bracelets from places like Noble Court and Gold Shore, and we only need 2 empowering bracelets and 1 empowering ring to get through the day, pretty much. So it's a very good very good money save. And yeah, here's the first menu, where you just basically give Tressa Scholar gear so that she can do a lot of damage with Blizzard. And yeah, this is why we do exploration, because you know, despite us being pretty low level and enemy monsters having a lot of HP and us just like barely not doing any grinding aside from killing the kitty cat, we're still gonna do a lot of damage because we have overpowered items at our side. Yeah. This is also a kind of rare encounter. You don't get it that much, but yeah. We have lots of M stones, so we're just gonna chuck a stone at it. So Ophi's gonna be our third character that we grab here. She's gonna be our main Sork, our main damage dealer for pretty much almost all of the game. But since she doesn't have any JP, we're just gonna Tressa as our temporary scholar here for damage dealing. And yeah, so the route used to use Cyrus for damage dealing, but the thing is that he loses you time each fight because of Study Foe, which takes about an extra 2 seconds. And so we attempted to use Ophi, which works out mainly because we have the extra magic M that we can steal later on. But like generally she'll do like lower damage than Cyrus with base stats, but with the help of like some items or some additional items that we grab, it's basically actually comes out to like being very, very equivalent here to Cyrus, if not faster. Also because Ophi is more tanky than Cyrus and has more SP, which does come in extremely useful. But yeah, here I'm actually gonna make another mistake here and not fully boost my Blizzard. It's not the worst mistake, it loses you like 3 seconds because I just had to use an extra M stone to make up for it. But I do start with like less M stones I would like, but since in this route we get a lot of M stones, so it's not like the worst thing. But yeah, as you see here, I just straight up gained like almost 50 seconds from not dying, unsurprisingly enough. Yeah, we're gonna get another hidden overpowered character here. So the really nice thing about getting Ophi as well is that Ophi is not. We can get Alphen here, who is extremely useful because his Canucks are extremely overpowered. And you're gonna pretty much see that in effect. Not as much for the early Ophi chapters, but he's still very useful because he's really tanky. And he does a lot of damage in Amputate. Because in the Cyrus route, you would have to bring Ophi with you, and she's just basically merchant one trick and doesn't really do much. Yeah, not much to say about Viper. We do save the Shadow L for Viper. Viper dies to Shadow L and M Stone and Blizzard ×2 from Tressa. There is some variance a little bit of variance in this fight depending on turn order. My PB had probably the most probably the best turn order anyone could ask of, so that's why I'm going to lose time here. But it's not a big deal. But yeah, here I'm also gonna watch to see if I get Herb of Healing. But I don't get any, so I will just buy some in the shop. I mean, if you get some, you can just basically save a little tiny bit of time by not having to buy it. But here we're gonna buy some apothecary supplies to start out. Could buy an Essence of Grape and then 11 Juria Seeds. And now I'm going to do a pretty long menu here to start gearing everyone up, especially Ophi, because all three of the magic nuts makes her like a really good scholar here. So we're going to give Ophi all of her scholar gear, and we're going to give Alphen offensive gear so that he presses Amputate to win. And you'll notice I do give Tressa one of the resist, not which increases base magic defense, as well as a Nourish L, or a Nourish S, because she actually does need a little bit of HP to survive some of the bosses coming up. So I'm also gonna buy a really important item here, called the Essence of Pomegranate, or the Essence of Pog here. So it's gonna come into play, and it's actually a pretty overpowered item, honestly, because the Essence of Pomegranate gives you access to BP boosting Canucks, which if you use certain items with it, it's incredibly good. So we're just making our way here. This next area you can't get an encounter in. And if you get Ophi first, it's thankfully very simple, but you do also tend to get ambushed, since now you're in a much level higher area. And this is going to be a theme for most of the early game, which I define most of the early game as like the start of the game until Dracing. But since you're low level and you don't have Percipience yet, which is a third scholar skill that you learn, and we don't learn until after Dracing. Early game generally tends to be pretty crucial if you want to go for top times, because getting ambushed and people dying loses you a lot of time. We do have tools to try to like mitigate it as best as possible, but of course it's not perfect. But yeah, here we do the Ophi chapters first because they tend to be very easy to do, and Ophi's chapters actually happen to be good to do because once we finish Ophi's chapters, we'll get access to an item called the Badge of Friendship, which gives us which doubles the amount of JP we earn. So, very useful item here. But yeah, here we also get, like, the nice thing about Ophi is that we get lots of guaranteed encounters here, just because of a lot of the path she walks is like really long, so getting encounters here is convenient because we need levels anyways. But yeah, you'll see here I get ambushed. Not a big deal unless Alphen dies, because he's probably the most squishiest one out of everyone else. But yeah, as you see here, we're doing a lot of damage now. And we're like level 3 on Ophi, and we just leveled like 4 levels. But yeah, here we're pretty much guaranteed another encounter, since again, the path we're walking here is really long. But this one tends to be a lot harder to kill than the ones outside, so we just tend to throw an L stone at them. But yeah, this is a good encounter to get because we get lots of XP and JP, so just gonna chuck a Windell, which kills all of them. So there are those owls, no, not the owls, but like the trees, I think, which give you a chance of getting Essence of Pomegranate, but unfortunately they didn't give us any, so a little unfortunate, but not a big deal. But yeah, here's a big Wolfie, or big doggo, and you're gonna see the power of hired help here in a second. And there's a good reason why we also learned Armor Corrosive on Therion. Armor Corrosive makes your attacks, your physical attacks hit 1.5 times more damage. And damage, I believe, is multiplicative, so if that term is right, so you're gonna see lots of damage here, and I think Doggo has like 32k HP or something like that, 32, 35. So we just basically killed the poor Doggo without it even being able to retaliate. And so not a bad Ophi 3. We probably would have gained another 11-12 seconds if we didn't get ambushed, but that's the luck of the draw. Early game is a little bit tight, but it's gonna show more of an effect mid to late game because this route, because we're shifting the money spent to mid game, we're gonna be more dependent on discounts to get us the money that we need. There's plenty of ways around, like, not being able to get the money because you can get, like, extra money in, in the Runeblade Shrine, or you can get it in Simeon 4, or, like, Ulbrich 3, etc. Or, like, selling items. But, like, of course that costs time, so ideally you really want to get discounts on the big ticket items, like when you buy the BT staff or the BT sword. But yeah, here you're also going to see an example of kind of like the open world rallying, because we haven't tagged all the areas around Orstera yet. But we will take that opportunity to, like, in this segment, because you'll notice after this cutscene, the next area we have to go to is basically, like, all the way back in the front part of Goldshore, and obviously walking there takes a long time. And that wastes time, so we're just going to basically kind of like multitask and do something else. Because when we get back, we'll be in the first area. And that's where we need to head to. But yeah, another menu here, because we want to give the Empowering Bracelet to Ophi for extra survivability for this encounter, because they do a lot of damage to you still. And Ophi still has very low HP, but yeah. Also lots of menus here to teach skills. We give both Alphen and Tressa cover. And high incentive is actually really useful because it increases our chances by, I think, like a set percentage of getting the first strike on even like any high level encounter. So like just having that extra chance is really useful. And since we need to learn 2 hunter skills anyways, Aerostorm and Leg Hold, we might as well just equip that and just hope we get good RNG. But yeah, we go here because we're also guaranteed an encounter here, because North Reach is a very long area to get to. But yeah, we get these 2 lizards here. They tend to be annoying if you don't get a merchant first, because they like to kill people. But if you get a merchant first, it's completely free. So you need a fully boosted Lightning Blast with the Peacock to kill, or you can kill just a fully boosted Lightning Blast and then an M Stone. I tend to like sometimes use an M Stone if it's convenient, since we have plenty of M Stones anyways. But yeah, very smooth. If you get ambushed there, it can get annoying if Alphen and Tressa die, because they deal about like 700 damage to you. But yeah, we also buy a couple important items here, like getting the Empowering Necklace here, which is our last HP boosting item aside from the Empowering Ring. Is really useful because 1k HP is a lot. Generally, when it comes to like tanking hits, just HP boosting is more valuable than just straight up raising your physical defense or magical defense. But yeah, we get the Resist L and the Magic L. Resist L to Tressa for more magic defense, and Magic L to Ophi for more damage, obviously. In the route, we used to get those items much later, but getting them earlier actually helps us hit the damage range for Mystery Man and Shady Figure. Also, this is an area where you can get an encounter in, and it's very annoying to break them usually. Yeah, also this next area, you're guaranteed an encounter as well. Because it's, yeah, as you see here, it's a very long area. But you do have tools to deal with most of these encounters as long as you don't get ambushed. So here, like, I think I made a minor mistake. I should have used the ice M, but I think I was kind of scared of using too many stones, but there's also a risk because you hit that fire elemental just deals a lot of damage to you, so I think if I lost time here, it probably would have been like 6 to 7 seconds at the most. So it's not like the hugest time loss, but yeah, especially when it comes to playing this or running this category at the top end, being able to kill encounters really fast is pretty crucial. So, yeah, another boss that just like powers up, but we basically kind of break them both, or break them at similar times, and they only get to use the luminescence on us, but as you see, we're equipped to be able to just be able to tank their hits once, and that's all we need. So technically, Mystery Man, I think, has a noticeable amount of evasion. This is why we use bandits and just not straight up attacks, because you can miss on them. And missing on them is obviously extremely bad, so... Yeah, see here, you can use mercs. You can also use dancers to guarantee it a range, because yes, this is also a range, especially if you're under-leveled on the Ophi. Like, it's not the worst range to lose because you just have to do an extra Holy Light on Ophi to kill a Shady Figure. But yeah, we hit the range here, so that's nice. And yeah, this is one of the splits where I stand to gain a pretty significant amount of time, because in my PB, I had to kill the extra encounter here, plus I got ambushed pretty much everywhere, so... Pretty nice to gain a minute here. So, a lot of cutscenes here. But yeah. Since we had to go to Whisper Mill, we're gonna warp here to Noble Court and do a couple of things and start up a bit of a Therion too, as well as do more chores, unsurprisingly. So I inquired the merchant there so that we get increased steal rates. What that actually does is lower the quote-unquote level requirements, because I think there's like kind of like a level stage where you where like it becomes like 3%, then 8%, then 15%, then 55%, then 65, then 100. So I believe like inquiring them to like lower level requirements for thieving does that. So having that is going to be very useful for later. But yeah, we had to guide this aspiring actor to do Kit's second quest here, and it's pretty much, since it's on the way and we don't want to walk back, we're also gonna take this opportunity to tag Dust Sparrow as well, as a sort of like a little fun side mission. And Dust Sparrow also has the advantage of having a lot of money in there as well. But yeah, if you get into... You can't get an encounter here. It's very annoying to kill. If I get the encounter here, like especially at this level, I pretty much will just always break and run. If you can break it faster, if you get like the first strike on them, it'll save you time, but that's pretty rare. But yeah, you don't need to get this copper pouch, but I do anyway, since I grab extra items. But yeah, there are some items here you can buy that you turn up a profit, just like that Curious Antique. So you can sell that Curious Antique for like 9,500, even though you just bought it from 2,900. So nice little profit item there. But yeah, here we're also gonna steal the Empowering Ring for a little bit of extra HP. Like, everyone here tends to like... Because we routed out buying a bunch of empowering bracelets, most of our team members, like, they have just enough HP to like not die in one hit from whatever like hits them. And it makes like fights a little bit more riskier, but like the trade-off is much better, because in order to get those empowering bracelets, as I said earlier, we have to hit the 30% scrutinize with Cyrus, which is not very good. But yeah, we're just gonna... Again, we get another guaranteed encounter here. A good theme with Ophi's story. This cat's eye sells for like 25k, so very good money item. And the guaranteed encounter here is Plains Drakes. This is why we learned Aerostorm. Because they're only weak to Spear and Aerostorm. So it's basically a free break on them, and basically a free fight from here, and they give a decent amount of SP. So I should also note that this is the first area in which you can encounter Chubby Kate, or what I like to call Big Chungus. Big Chungus gives you 2k SP, 50k gold, or 50k money, and a lot of XP. So the route can change dramatically if you get a Chubby Kate, and you can save a pretty significant amount of time. But a Chubby Kate here is like a 3%. So, but most of the time also, like, if you get the Chubby Kate, you have to start trying to escape from most encounters that you see, since obviously it's a waste to kill encounters you don't need. So, like, if you fail the escapes, like, you'll lose a lot more time than you would killing Big Chungus. But yeah, we sell all our items here to get Moolah. Yeah, more quest stuff here, and so we used to pretty much always kill an encounter in Ebony Grotto here, but we don't anymore since we skipped the Adamantine Hat, which is actually ideal because you end up finding out that you don't really need this encounter anyways to be able to hit all your milestones that you need. If you do get the encounter here, you can kill it and then skip the Orwell encounter in exchange. But obviously you don't want the encounter here because the Orwell encounter is much more likely. And these encounters here tend to be more annoying to kill. But yeah, we also do equip the Empowering Ring on Alphen so he can survive Matthias hits. Because everyone here is only equipped to just barely survive a Consuming Darkness from Matthias. But yeah, now that we're on much less HP, this fight used to not be dangerous, but now this fight is dangerous. And I've actually died here a couple times on good pace. But yeah, you can see now they start doing the funny Soulstone attack, which hits a lot, and Alphen dies because he doesn't have that much HP. Sometimes you can get away with it, like this time. Like, I just basically break them as usual. And then I olive Alphen, and then I'm pretty much on my way. But if you're really unlucky, you basically lose your entire run. Because everybody dies. So the solution to this is to just get lucky. So Matthias is also a pushover Chapter 4 boss. I think some people have a medium to hard time with him, but thanks to the power of capitalism, Matthias is free. He does have about like a 1 in 8 chance, or I think 1 in 16 or one of those, to kill you. But sometimes you can recover it, but even if you can't really recover it within 3 turns, like you can just kill him on like turn 5, and it's a little bit slower, but it's not like the worst thing because he doesn't do that much to you. The main thing you just want to look out for is to just not give him turns, because if you give him a turn after he breaks, he summons ads. And we do not like having to kill extra stuff around these parts. But yeah, nobody died here, so this fight is basically free with the power of throwing money and hiring veterans to do our dirty work for us. So yeah, we do use vets a lot early game, but eventually towards like the mid game, we will stop using them because obviously we don't have all the money in the world for vets, and B, we'd be broke, and C, they kind of fall off damage wise, especially at the ending part. so now we're done with the Ophi story. Finishing the Ophi story will unlock more side quests, and the particular one that we care about is the Badge of Friendship side quest here, because we have a lot of JP requirements that we have to hit, because we want to basically deal as much damage. And we are going to be wanting to deal lots of damage, especially in the end game, so... But we're going to do another detour here, because we might as well. We start Alphen 2 here. Not much to say, this is kind of like a walking cutscene simulator. And then after this, you'll notice we do get more NPCs here, thanks to finishing Ovi's story. And we get to buy the Sharp M here, and the Magic L here, which obviously is very useful. The Sharp M is actually very useful because of a couple bosses coming up that like to dodge attacks, so that's why we buy it, and we'll of course use the Magic L on Ophi for more damage, but yeah, since we acquired this guy and we had to go all the way back, we just detoured to do something else. But yeah, the biggest noticeable part from the last time I did Galdera was we used to go to Atlas Dam, but now we no longer go to Atlas Dam. So, and that saves about a minute or so, and not having to buy empowering bracelets also saves you like 20 seconds, so bit of a noticeable time save, honestly. But yeah, here we're just going to do the Badge of Friendship quest. Pretty simple quest because we just had to buy some stuff from a little girl. Also, yay, 91 leave discount. We're rich. But yeah, I did hint at needing a lot more money to buy a lot of stuff. The next place we're going to be heading to is tagging Orwell and Riverford. And this place can be annoying too because it's a walk to the Thief Shrine, which we actually use. Not really for the abilities, but for the support skill, Snatch. Well, this is going to give us a lot more money for our efforts. But yeah, no encounter here is really nice. If you get an encounter here, it's really annoying because it's just before you get Evil Ward, which lets you have a much higher chance of escaping from encounters. And then here we're gonna do our next big menu here before Dracing. So we're gonna give Ophi the 2 nuts that we bought, and then we're gonna give Tressa the badge, and then we're gonna unequip the circlet from Alphen because we actually want Alphen to take more damage intentionally for Dracing. But yeah, here we're gonna get Evil Ward. I actually forget to give a Therion Merchant. I think I also forget to give Tressa. No, I didn't this time. But yeah, here I get all the support skills, and yeah, I should note here that I do my support skills in a pretty specific order, and I did adopt my own notes to tell me which support skill to place it in, because knowing where each support skill is and how to like kind of replace each support skill, because you'll be doing a lot of that throughout the speedrun, saves you a pretty noticeable amount of time, as well as just having your support skills in good positions. But yeah, this is all pretty much everything that we need for Dracing here, so we're just making our way in tagging towns here. You have a pretty good chance of getting this encounter. If you don't get this encounter, it's not the end of the world. You can just try to replace it with more Chapter 2 encounters, or like get the encounter right outside Dust Barrel. But yeah, as you see here, I did skip the encounter here. I think it's about a 15 to 20% chance to skip this encounter. I'm not sure. But if you had gotten that encounter, like, it's really good to save your Thunder L if you didn't use it in the Chapter 3, or like if you didn't use it in Still Snow, to use it here because it makes getting the kill on the birds much faster. But yeah, this is basically the very last town that we tagged. We waited until an hour in, and we just buy a couple more items here for later on. And now we're off to face our first secret job. So Dracing is generally pretty tough. Like in the casual playthrough, he's pretty tough, but in actual reality, he's not that bad in the speedrun because we have the power of money on our side. But you'll notice I equipped the Snatch onto Tressa. Snatch allows you to get double the collect amount cash and double the steal. And that's going to be playing very useful here. Also, we got surprised, which is not surprising. But yeah, dealing with this encounter is pretty crucial. Or being able to deal it fast is also crucial. These guys are annoying to kill, but not as annoying now. Because we have a bit more levels on us, and... Technically, I should have done Mercs here, but... to save a little bit of time and not have to spend time reviving Tressa, but it's not the worst thing, because I think it would have cost the same amount of time anyways. But yeah, you see at 1 HP Alphen, Last Stand just deals a ridiculous amount of damage. So basically, like, since I got this encounter, this basically replaces my Orwell encounter. But yeah, the change here, since we don't go to Atlas Dam, normally you would want to grab a Revitalizing Jam for Steora much later on, but we just grab it here instead, which does carry its own risk. Also, technically, you don't need the Revitalizing Jam for Steora, but it does make certain configurations more risky without said Rev Jam. But yeah, here I get ambushed again, and I actually get the encounter early, which is not ideal, but it can be worked around. Yeah, these encounters are also kind of annoying because they have a lot of shields, and they do a lot of damage, so... I use a Fire M to like deal a little bit of damage and help break. So I forget to mention this, but yeah, Soulstones deal a fixed amount of damage, which is very useful, especially if your enemy has buffs on them. So you got the Rev Jam here, and yeah, so generally you're supposed to grab the Wizard's Rod here, but since I got the encounter very early, I didn't want to risk a second encounter. So you can choose to just grab it after here. But yeah, Dracing is also kind of like a static fight. You always do the same thing. Dracing always does the same thing. So it's just a matter of just quick menuing and doing it correctly. But yeah, the reason why we don't equip the circlet on Alphen is we want him to take more damage so that he's at a much lower HP. Because we learned Last Stand deals more damage the lower your HP is, so having low HP on Alphen makes Last Stand deal a ton of damage. And this damage is actually necessary here because Amputation just doesn't deal enough. So yeah, as you see here, instead of 40k, which is the base amount we steal, with Snatch it's 80k. And that also, incidentally, gives us enough money to defeat Dracing. So we use a total of around 6 vets here. The older fights of Dracing used to require us to get a lot more supplies, because we would take a lot more hits from Dracing. But now we basically do Dracing in 6 turns with only 6 vets. And also Alphen is also very crucial here and also the reason why we can handily do 6-turn Dracing here, because Purifying Dust and Essence of Pomegranates gives everyone 2 BP, and that is extremely overpowered. And also gives us enough damage to easily take care of Dracing. And yeah, just to put in perspective, we're doing this at like level 24s, and Dracing has like 171 HP. Like, Dracing is also one of the few, I guess, like, the few Secret Jobs bosses where, like, vets still deal a good amount of damage. But for the other, Secret Job bosses, like, vets deal significantly less. But yeah, this Dracing split could have been, like, around 20 seconds faster, 20-30 seconds faster had I not gotten that ambush, but it just happens to be one of the splits where it varies a lot just because, it's a very high level area. But yeah, as you see here, now we have Percipients and the show goes on, and life's a lot better because Percipients makes it so you can't get ambushed. And so now that we have learned Sorc, sorcerers are basically heavy magic damage dealers, and you're gonna see lots of damage being done with Sorcs. And generally, like, since we can't afford to use vets for everything, a sorcerer is basically our next our next big weapon ticket that we can use. And thankfully, they actually scale very well into the end game, unlike vets. So money can only get you so far in this category. But yeah, since now we have access to Sorcs, we just pretty much tend to start doing much of the chapters that we can easily do with Sorc. So the rest of the chapters are pretty easy to do. Even Esmeralda isn't too bad with the Sorc. But yeah, I choose to kill this encounter outside here since I got it, I might as well, and Ophi was first. I think the encounters here, inside the manse and outside, give similar amounts, though the encounters outside the manse are tougher. But if I get the encounter outside, I would just basically go with whether or not Ophi is first, just so that I don't have to waste time trying to get to Ophi's turn here. We grabbed this hasty helm because it's going to be much useful for later. But yeah, as you see here, Ophi was not first, so had I killed this encounter instead, I would have wasted a little bit more time. So I should note that I think the notes from Quadra do Omar like the standard way, but I did notice this watching Japanese runners is that they do Omar a different way. So they do double Ignis, and instead of elemental break, they'll just attack twice with the staff and guarantee to break with Alphen on the second turn. So this actually works out much better, honestly, because after Dracing, we can do up to 4 Ignis cast. And we tend to use 3 Ignises, 1 for the encounter, 2 on Omar, and that'll leave us with 1 Ignis left for the Tressa 3 encounter, which is useful. Sometimes you don't level off of that, and if you know you don't level off of that, you can just heal SP and it's not a big deal. But yeah, as you see here, I'm doing a vet's level of damage here without needing money, so... And it's just gonna keep increasing. But yeah, Tressa 3 is another chapter where we go off to do something else here because we kind of stop at like a far area. But yeah, we buy another Curious Bloom here. Just skip ahead and then we do more story stuff. And then you'll notice here, in addition to buying the required story shield, I also buy the plate shield. This is a pretty useful shield because it gives us a decent amount of physical defense and it's pretty cheap, and it's actually going to be crucial for Winnehild, who deals a lot of physical damage. So I see another Curious Bloom there and some money items, and now that we're higher level, we can inquire this guy to grab the Curious Antique instead. And the merchant that we inquired for better steal percentages is going to come in very useful because this crucial item called the Elemental Heavy Armor is going to be an 80% steal. A long while back, we used to use 2 Sork Robes, but we found out that Elemental Heavy Armor basically does the same thing at a much cheaper cost. So we opted to basically skip grabbing the second Sork Robe and save like 30k in the process. But yeah, more story stuff here. Just skip that. Yeah, this outside of Forgotten Grotto, it's a pretty rare chance to get an encounter here. I think it's like less than 10%. But if you do get the encounter here, it's pretty annoying because it's an encounter that's not easy to escape from, so. But I think most of them die to Ignis, if I recall correctly. Either Ignis or Lux. But yeah, there's also a good variety of encounters you can get in here. It's mandatory for most of the part to kill this because they give really good JP and XP. And of course, knowing how to kill them is very good too. But yeah, I could have opted to use the ISM here again. I don't know why I didn't, but not the worst thing because again, I wouldn't have lost that much. It probably would have lost. It lost me like 10 seconds or so, most. But either way, I need to BP donate to Ulfi because that skeleton is pretty tanky. So I could have handled that better, but not a big deal. You also notice I don't heal HP here because it's not needed because Tiger or Venom 2 Tiger never hits you unless you are underleveled and miss damage range, which by the way, it is a damage range if you're underleveled on Ophi. And so most of the time this collect from Tressa, this collect from Tressa coming up here is a 99% chance, and I've seen people fail it. I've seen it failed once, and it was really unlucky, and if you fail it, you likely just have to take a walk of shame to a Lock of the Lost King and grab the 30k from there. But yeah, very straightforward fight. But if you also get Tressa in between Ophi and Therion, that's also good because that guarantees a steal. Or it guarantees the collect. But yeah, you still need vets to deal with some of the, like, even at this stage, you still need vets to deal with the Chapter 3 bosses, but pretty soon here, we won't need it anymore. Esmeralda is actually the last place that we actively use vets. But it does make sense that we have to use vets for Esmeralda, because Esmeralda being a Chapter 4 boss, has her 95,000 HP. So, cutscenes. But yeah, also here, we need to go here anyways, because since we finished Kit's quest, or Kit's second quest here, we need to do Kit's third quest. And we need to buy an expensive item here called the Lapis Lazuli. I think this one's a 15% steal chance, but it's either 15% or 55%, but we just buy it anyways because if you fail all 5 steals here, it's 100k cost to restore your reputation, so we do not want to do that. But yeah, we sell here to hit 60k, and we do a very specific equipment set on everyone, because we want everyone to ideally be able to survive both hits on, or to be able to survive both hits on Esmeralda, which you can still. The only person who can die from Esme is Ulfi, and that chance, and it's about like a 1 out of 32 chance or something like that to have Ulfi die to Esme. You also can kind of get around it by just being forced to use your your rev jam. But here we, yeah, it's also useful because now that we're much higher level, these L stones are 100%, or these L stones are an 80% steal chance, which is a very good chance because we still kind of do care about our soulstone routing, which I guess I didn't mention too much about my soulstone routing when I should have, but I play pretty aggressive with my soulstone routing, especially early game because I want to try, like, you only have 2 soulstone or L stones to use, but ideally you want to save the Thunder L, as mentioned earlier, for the birds in the Orwell, which I didn't get. But you still need to use plenty of soulstones early or later on, especially for the haunted chapters, because she can only deal damage to her mandatory encounters through soulstones. So having a good soulstone routing is pretty important. But yeah, funny enough here, you can actually get an encounter in this area. It's pretty rare as well. It's also extremely annoying because you can't kill them very easily. But here's Esme, pretty easy Chapter 4 boss, honestly. Not as much in Trust a Single Story because there's a lot of horrors with Esme and Trust a Single Story, but thankfully this is not Trust a Single Story, so once we survive this first turn, it is basically free from here on. Unless you make a mistake. And we only use 2 vets here as opposed to... We only need to use 2 vets here because Ophi and Alphen essentially take care of the remaining damage. And yeah, since Alphen got hit here, we can use Last Stand for even more damage and quicker animation. If he didn't get hit, you would need to use Amputation, or else Last Stand doesn't do enough damage. But yeah, since we started with Tressa, and we finished Tressa's 4 chapters, it's gonna coincide with a mandatory 8-minute credit session after this, so... I'm gonna go to the restroom real quick, and then we can continue on, and of course I'll skip through the credits because it's filler content, so... Give me a moment and I'll be back in about a minute. Okay, that was a little bit longer, but I'm back. Well, I forgot to mention here, yeah, it does make sense that I lose time at Omar because my PB, I didn't kill any encounters, so... A lot of times, unless I mention it, sometimes I would just lose time to, like, in between splits just because I take encounters, so... Do take note of, like, the variance, but yeah, let me skip through, boring credits. There we go. But yeah, so, nice little break, because breaks are healthy. And it's nice that this one's built in. But yeah, now that we finished Esmeralda, we can just do like all the... Basically the rest of the chapter 4s that we can get, because the overall goal of doing these chapters there is that we want to get enough JP to get elemental aid for some of the more tougher chapter 3 bosses. And pretty much with how our route works, we basically get basically finish all the necessary chapter 2 bosses and the easier chapter 3 bosses at La Tressa 3 and Tressa 4, so that we hit elemental aid by the time we get Yvonne. And Yvonne's, excuse me, one of the tougher chapter 3 bosses. But ideally, you would want, like, if we were able to, we would do Yvonne much later, but we kind of can't really do it any later because we need the money from him, and we also don't have Aelfric's until like decent bit later. But yeah, Vanessa's a pretty simple boss. There's not much to say. I think in some routes, like, if you can learn Elemental 8 early, and Vanessa's like a conditional 2-turn, but it does require you to use a Soul Stone, and I think same with Orlick. And it's more effective if you do it with Cyrus Sork than with Ophi Sork. But yeah, since we did steal that, or buy that Lapis Lazuli earlier, and the turn point is in Moonstruck Coast, just doing Alphen 2 is convenient just because we can easily head to that area to finish that quest, and we also get a pretty important item in the Primeval Robes, which is also a really good free high defense item that we can use. And yeah, since so honestly, Therion 2 doesn't give you much, but it does give us the important thing of being able to go grab the Magic M, as well as for non-Kate routes, a place to easily swap Alphen out to do Cyrus chapters here. But there's honestly not much to say here. If you had skipped like a bunch of encounters here, you can choose to kill the encounter here in Therion 2 because it's common to get that encounter, but like a lot of the times you can just skip through it. So yeah, you see I have to get the encounter here, but since I know I have enough JP, I just escape from it. So generally, like, I guess a new runner would like kill every encounter they see, but like once you become experienced, know which encounters you take, you can basically skip a lot of like you basically know which encounters you should skip and which encounters you want to kill ideally, and the risk and reward management of that is really important. And you'll see it kind of being put into play, because once you get like to like around this like the 322, 323, like taking risk for encounters is going to make a difference. Also, yeah, I do use the plum here because I didn't come in here with enough SP. SP management is pretty important, but not as much, honestly, with this route because a lot of the times you tend to level out of it. But in a fight like this, you can Alphen basically, like for Vanessa and Orlick, Alphen basically does nothing. So if you need to, you can just heal Ulfi's SP. But yeah, at the end of each of Therion's chapters, you get put in Boulder Fall. And so that's actually convenient because now that we beat all of Tressa chapters, Omar will appear around here, and you can steal the magic gem from him, which is really useful because now Ulfi is basically equivalent to Cyrus in terms of damage, and that's basically a huge difference maker in Ulfi tending to get ahead of Cyrus. Because the other reason why you choose Ulfi is that you get guaranteed guides, and some of the quests that we do require an allure or a guide. And since Ulfi's our main sorcerer, she has the levels to be able to guide the NPCs that we need, and otherwise we would have to chance 30% from Prim, and that's kind of bad, especially like in a run 3 hours in. So most people have accepted that Ulfi is just much better than Cyrus because it's much more consistent. Theoretically, Cyrus can be faster because you get evasive maneuvers much faster than Tressa, like noticeably faster, especially with the K mod, but you would still have to make up some of the menus because Cyrus is more squishier, and that makes quite a difference. But yeah, see, with this new route, we can basically delay recruiting Cyrus up until now, and Russell is pretty much a pushover. I think also in Cyrus you do Gideon earlier, which allows you to get possibly get Elemental Aid after Esmeralda. But yeah, I think I lose minor time there because my menu was slower. Yeah. Straightforward, but now we basically just do Beeline and finish Cyrus's stories because unfortunately, yeah, as I mentioned before, in order to get Aelfric and to be able to do Steora ASAP, we still need to do Cyrus's stories because Yvonne and Gideon give quite a bit of JP. And doing Yvonne is also useful because he gives us money, which we don't need money for vets, but we need money, we really need money, like, to buy a lot of really high-cost items. Yeah, with the Kate route, you get Cyrus really late, and I think with this route, like, the Kate difference, time-wise, is far more, telling. So more quizzes from Cyrus. So it's good to note that you can get an encounter in the sewers too, but escapes are free. I guess if you're low on XP and you needed the Cyrus 2 encounter, it's there. But yeah, I guess I'll just let this play out because I do take a pretty specific path. But yeah, Gideon is another boss that plays a lot like Vanessa and Orlick. If you were doing this Cateless, you would very likely have to heal SP on Ophi, since most likely she runs out. But since we get Cyrus very late, and I didn't mention this as well, but like when you start someone's chapter 1, everyone is healed full, which actually plays very useful here. You used to buy a lot of plums to heal SP, but you don't need that anymore pretty much because with the way the chapters work out. But yeah, here that's the usual formula of feeding BP with BP donate with our merchants, and goodbye Gideon. So Cyrus 3 is actually one of the more dangerous chapters, and it's because you have a decent chance of getting an encounter in Cyrus 3, and they're very annoying to escape from, and they hit you very hard, and if you don't get to escape, you waste a pretty noticeable amount of time. But not only that, Yvonne and his goons himself are very annoying because Tornado deals a lot of damage to everyone. And Yvonne as well. And you basically have to tank them until turn 2. So, and now here we also learn Elemental Aid on Ophi, and then we also put Snatch back on. I also forgot to mention this, but yeah, we do now have Hang Tough on Tressa because it tends to be it's more useful, and Tressa just in general has a lot of extra JP to go around. So like she's not as pressed for needing gear. It turns out the Hang Tough helps a lot in lessening your gear requirements. But yeah, in general, like Tressa and Alphen can afford to die like once or twice in encounters, but Ophi and Therion pretty much by far need the XP and JP the most because if you let them die for encounters, like chances are you have a decent chance of missing thresholds that you want to hit. So a good pro tip in battles when you get ambushed and someone dies is you can afford to leave Tressa and Alphen behind. Of course, you don't want to do it more than once because it's going to have a noticeable impact, but if you let them die once or twice and it ends up being faster, like, it's not a big deal. But yeah. We also steal more L-stones here because we have a soulstone addiction that we need to fuel by the end of by the time we get to haunt it. But yeah, I try to pretty much make my running as efficient as possible, so that I don't have to suffer the encounter here, and yeah, I do get lucky. So this is tough. So as I said, Tornado and Yvonne hits for a lot of damage, and Cyrus is not very tanky, so you basically have to hope that they don't target Cyrus too much and they don't press the Tornado button, because anyone can die in this fight. But I also note that I use a Palm L here in 7M, especially because I did save I did dupe a Palm L. You don't have to do that, but I personally use the Palm L here so that I don't have to use the extra M stone, because it is a range for Yvonne to die even with the L, but using fully boosted Ignis and an L stone. But yeah, thanks to a good turn order, I was able to handle this very efficiently. With Tressa, if you don't steal the 32k, or if you don't collect the money, it's not the worst thing, but you will have to sell items in order to be able to afford the BT staff coming up. And now we're done with Cyrus chapters for a very long time now, because if we were to do Cyrus 4, it's not a great time. Cyrus's Chapter 4 boss, Lucia, is probably one of the more tougher bosses to get around, and we'll talk about that much later on. There's a good reason why we do that as the second to last boss, pretty much. But yeah, now that we're done with Cyrus, we actually do like a detour here to grab Haunted. We're not going to be doing Haunted's other chapters until much later, but we want to grab Haunted because she's the easiest access to be able to do this mandatory fight for the Galdera side quest. We can technically do it much later, but it's a lot more awkward to do it much later. And it's actually kind of necessary because it's pretty much on the way because we want to buy a really valuable staff for later or later on coming up here. But yeah, we don't need a Tressa for this part. Okay, because Gasarma doesn't give that much JP. And so there's also a decent amount of variance because if you get the encounter outside Sworky, it's like a 9-second time loss as opposed to like a 7-second time loss because of Cyrus' study foe, so it would be nice to not get encounters here. So I didn't get any encounters, so we get to save a good amount of time. So this is another fight where you can, if you don't get a good turn order, you have to use Soulstone, which is why Soulstone round is also important. So, but I got a good turn order, so I can save my stone. So, in earlier iterations, you used to have to buy stones at a Whisper Mill, but we can, thankfully, now that we basically skip having to go to Whisper Mill until much later on, we can afford to steal those soul stones instead. Excuse me. Talking for almost 3 hours straight, is a lot, so you have to forgive me. But yeah, since we recruited Haunted really early, just for the purposes of doing this good old provoke here. And we can just use a Shadow Elf to take care of him. If you grabbed Ulbrich, I think you need like level 15 or something stupid for him. But Haunted's provoke isn't exclusive to levels, so we do this so that because the next side quest that we involve for Alphys, or Daughter of the Dark God 2, is in Saint's Bridge. So that's why we opt to do Haunted early. Or else we would have to do like an extra unnecessary trip to Saint's Bridge. But yeah, we're gonna steal more stuff here. And yeah, again here, since Alphen's chapters tend to have like a lot of backtracking, so we take this opportunity to go do something else and multitask. So after this, we'll be starting up on Therion 3. And that's also going to feature a little bit of backtracking too. So we basically go back and forth a lot. But yeah, here, since we no longer need Haunted, she's done her job for now, we're gonna grab Tressa back. And then we're just gonna do the Therion story stuff, which is yada yada yada. But yeah, you can also get an encounter in this area. Also kinda rare encounter, but also, of course, still very annoying. I think you can kill most of the encounters here in one hit though, if you know their elemental weakness. But yeah, here and now, we're gonna do the second out the Daughter of the Dark God Part 2 side quest here. Since we need to go buy a bunch of items, and the money's actually convenient here as well, since the money we get from here helps fund purchasing a very important staff. So the knowledge staff gives you a decent amount of magic attack, but it also gives you plus speed, which is in itself very useful for a lot of stuff. But for these next few bosses coming up, we actually don't want Ophi to be speedy. But thankfully though, since we finished Ophi's story, we have access to buy a really powerful staff called the BT staff, which gives a lot more damage because of more elemental attack. But in exchange for Ophi being slow, which is in this for the next couple bosses coming up is pretty convenient. Otherwise, and it's basically the key to us being able to deal a lot of damage, and you're gonna see some really cool stuff coming up for the secret job bosses, which involve our favorite, which involve the BT staff. But yeah, here's also where I want to start getting discounts on the big ticket items. If I don't get discounts on the big ticket items like the BT staff, or I basically start crying in my sleep. Not really, but I would have to take a couple detours. And there's multiple ways of dealing with that, but but I have a personal preference for selling while I'm crying inside about not getting discounts. But yeah, we're not gonna equip the BT staff just yet, because we actually want speed for this next encounter coming up. And this counter, like, you want Ophi to go first, so you press Luminescence to win. Hooray. But yeah, after this, we no longer need Ophi to be speedy, and we actually want her to be slow. So we're gonna do a menu here to give her the BT staff. And we're also gonna gear everyone up so that they can survive stuff like Winnehild. Well, we don't need to heal HP here, we just need to make sure Ophi's SP is healed. Yeah, I just did a check here because I thought I didn't clip the stuff here for a second. Yay for a 2-second time loss. But yeah, here you ideally want Ophi last. Or at least like Ophi not first. But I should also note that for this spot, for like the ads, you need at least like if you don't have Peacock, you need at least fully boosted glacies or X3 with Peacock. If you don't have that, the ads don't die, and they can basically put Gareth out of break, and that's really bad. So that's why I just use the pomade immediately. But yeah, after Gareth, we'll be coming up to our next secret job here, and we still don't have enough like power to be able to one-hit Steora, but it's fine because Steora is kind of dangerous anyways to try to do in 3 turns because she has a lot of shields. And we only have access to Aelfric, which thankfully is also just enough for our needs. So we're gonna heal everyone up here, and Steora is a boss with a decent amount of variance, and if it goes bad, it goes really bad. So you want to watch out for a couple things which I will point out in the fight. But yeah, now we're gonna have Darion on cleric duty because he has Aelfric. What if you don't know what Aelfric does? It basically allows you to cast the same spell again. So imagine Ignis hitting cap damage 3 times, it's gonna hit cap damage 6 times. So that's 60k damage right out the gate. If you want to put that in perspective. But yeah, Sayoro's a dangerous fight. You very much want to pay attention to the turn order here. Because the first thing you always want to look for is Therion before Ophi. If not, then a lot of times you just have to have Ophi palm Therion. So as you see here, Ophi was first, so I immediately recognized that and I palmed Therion. So the first thing that she will do is Physical Reflection of Wandering Star, which will confuse someone, and if it confuses someone at a very bad time, you're probably going to be in trouble because you definitely do not ever want to have let Sayora get a turn, or else bad stuff happens. You also have to be very careful with your cursor because the cursor can move to different locations because you're healing different people. Which I should note, we always have Ophi first because if you defend, and once at the start of a battle, or most battles, like, your cursor tends to reset to the default position, which is the first position, so. But yeah, since she has 7 shields, I had to take care of it, and I do make a mistake here, which I'll talk about later, but you'll see here that I still have to heal Tressa. And I actually also need her to collect money from Sayora, so yeah, you'll see I do a lot of stuff here. So I heal Tressa again, and then I had to collect money. But yeah, her pattern also changed because she can either have 4 shields, 8 shields, or 12 shields. Ideally, of course, you want the 8 shield. I mean the 4 shield because you don't have to do anything. But if you get the 8 or 12 shield, you need extra damage from Alphen. But yeah, you're gonna see here I make a mistake coming up here, which probably might not have mattered because I did bop some of Sayora's shields with Therion, but I did not realize my cursor was not on Ophi, so I donated BP to Therion, but thankfully Ophi was last, so it's just a minor time loss in that respect. So I just did last stand here in case it still didn't kill. Probably would have been fine, but again, like, I don't take any chances because if I like don't kill Sayora here, I'm basically dead. But yeah, we want to do Sayora second, especially because we get access to some really useful abilities, especially useful special skills, especially Hard Worker, which also doubles our JP gained. So we're now that we have. And they both the badge and hard worker stack, so now we're getting double the JP that we usually get from enemy monsters, so which is incredibly useful because we need a lot of JP still, and you'll be surprised JP is still pretty tight because we get a lot of skills. But yeah, now here we're just finishing off the rest of Alphen's chapters so that we are able to get elephants for Tressa. And Miguel is pretty simple, so we just choose to delay Miguel because with Hard Worker we don't need it to be able to do Sayora since we have the JP after Gareth, and Miguel and having more JP given with Hard Worker is just a good bonus. But you'll see here now we're gonna start doing a lot of damage, and we don't even need to break Miguel to be able to kill him. And so we can just basically Aelfrix here, and then with the power of a lot of boost to Ophi, which by the way, Peacock and multiplies damage by 1.5, and elemental break increases damage that they take by 1.5. And so now we're dealing cap damage. So the reason why we don't we still need a lot of JP to be able to get surpassing power, which increases your damage to the real cap, which is 999,000 or 99,999. So that's why we don't get elephants, because elephants just makes your ability single target and deal a lot of damage, but we hit the cap down, or we can't hit above 9,999, so there's no point in getting it yet. So Elephant Chapters is really long, there's a lot of cutscenes, but one thing I'll point out is, let me go back. One thing I'll point out is that this cutscene has, or these new 2 cutscenes coming up has a pretty nice characteristic. If you press X ASAP, you can just immediately run. So you see it coming up here next. I just press X to, because it's a one-liner, and then basically run. So let's skip over all the plot stuff because we don't care. So Elephant 4 is one of those dangerous chapters because you have a good chance of you have like a noticeable chance of getting an encounter here, and failing encounters here really suck. So I do make a conscious choice here to like actually kill this encounter, even though you technically don't need to. But because I was on good pace, I just chose to kill the encounter. Which I didn't do it ideally because I forgot that our friendly neighborhood rhino here is really tanky. I should have boosted BP with Tressa here, but you know, it is what it is. But I guess it just makes it a little bit slightly slower. And yeah, you can also get an encounter in the next area too, because it's another long walk. But yeah, also Ogre Eagle's another annoying fight because Ogre Eagle has a chance of applying like a random really bad status effect to you when it hits someone, but you can counteract that with Canuck. But like as you see here, I noticed that Ophi's first, so I had to choose to kind of skip so ideally you want to use Elemental Break here on Ophi on turn 1 and then hit a lot of damage, but since I wasn't able to, I have to deal a little bit more damage. So if you're not able to get the Elemental Break, you just basically, or like an extra palm, you basically have to use another L-Stone, and you have to use Amputate on Alphen. So it's not the worst thing, but it just loses you a noticeable amount of time. And you will notice that I am basically, quote-unquote, lose 40 seconds to this because I had to kill the extra encounter and I had the slower Ogre Eagle fight. So not much you can do there, but like, had I like gotten a bad status effect, it would have been like, especially on Ophi or Therion, it would have been this basically probably would have been a lost cause. So here I just prioritize safety. But yeah, encounters here. But yeah, so now as you notice, we're able to learn. We're able to basically learn Surpassing Power and Elephants, and now we basically have you're gonna see we're gonna do a lot of damage after once we learn all the skills here and do appropriate bosses, and with the power of lots of buffs, you're gonna see Winneheld get blown. You're gonna see Winneheld get 3-turned. Yeah, here we're gonna. As you see here, we put back evasive maneuvers and cover here, because cover is going to be very useful for Winneheld, and And we're just gonna make our way to Winterhild Shrine. So the reason why we do like Balagar last is that he doesn't really give us anything. You used to do Balagar to get Tressa transfer rune, but it was honestly not needed anymore because it turns out you can just tank Winterhild's hits, but of course you don't want to tank Winterhild's hits. You're just gonna straight up one hit him, and the key to being able to like do a 3-turn Winterhild is Alphen. So Alphen's leg hold Connacht also happens to deal ice damage, which Winterhild is weak to, which allows us to be able to break Winterhild easily on turn 2, or else we would have to do some creative shenanigans. And that would be no bueno. So the reason why we are so tanky for Winterhild is that Winterhild just does a lot of damage, and we're only really equipped to tank one Yatagasaru. I cannot pronounce it, I'm sorry. But not Yatagasaru into attack, but not the other way around. So we just have to play around that. But thankfully, like if we have staggered turns, we can easily deal with that. Sometimes if someone dies. But yeah, as you see here, we're at 4 shields, and then now we're at 1 shield thanks to Glacies. And with the power of a lot of debuffs and buffs, you're gonna see Winterhild go bye-bye pretty much. But yeah, this is also why the BT staff is very valuable, because we want Ophi to be last, ideally, so that we have more room to do stuff in case someone dies. So thanks to Surpassing Power, we can use Alphen and Aelfric, and basically, Winterhild has 210k HP, but that doesn't matter because she's gonna die. And that's a lot of damage. And so we do Winterhild 3rd because that's also a very valuable place to get extra experience. So we give Therion extra experience since he does need a War Master. And yeah, my menuing was bad here, so you know, it is what it is. But now here, we are gonna buy the Sork Robe and the Shadow Soul Stone. Which is which is why delaying it is pretty nice at the cost of needing more discounts to make up for it, but there's plenty of ways around that. But yeah, with extra experience and everything now, like, we now can kill like pretty much a very set amount of encounters here. And yeah, unfortunately, having Ophi first a lot of the times isn't common with without the knowledge staff, but it's just something you have to deal with. And yeah, it will lose you like 15 seconds or so if you don't get Ophi first, which is unfortunate, but you know, when it comes to like higher end or like much faster Galdera runs, just praying for good turn order is the name of the game here. But yeah, here's another place where you can lose a lot of time if you get an encounter before Balagar when you don't want it, but thankfully I did not get an encounter. If you fail to escape that the encounter here, which is pretty common, you lose like 30 seconds at a minimum, unless you have Ophi first, which kind of sucks, but yeah. Here, also, Alphen gets a chance to be very useful if we have a bad turn order, because he also has Connacht that will allow someone to go in front, so if we had Ophi before Tressa, we can use a Connacht to put Tressa in front, so this is why the strategy works very well, and also why Alphen's very busted in speedruns. Connacht is a very, very good tool. So again here, we're just gonna fully buff Ophi, debuff Balagar, and we're basically off to the races. Yeah, you also have to be very careful with your cursor here because the cursor can be in different places. Yeah, goodbye, Balagor in 3 turns. Okay, so now that we have all the secret jobs done, the rest of the chapters can be done pretty easily. So the reason why we kind of delay Ulbricht's chapters is that most of Ulbricht's bosses tend to be like tougher than the average chapter 2s. Same with Prim and Honnet. But we also want to do Ulbricht's chapters because the end of his chapters gives us a side quest that lets us get the captain's badge, which lets us increase HP, or not HP, XP, much like the badge of friendship. So pretty straightforward run here and fight. You'll notice I also will put on the knowledge staff here, but I'll actually put it back during Ulbricht too, because just for this boss I want to be really fast, and it's also kind of on the way because we need to give Ophi the Sork robe and give her back the stimulating necklace since she's gonna be using a lot of SP. But yeah, even though I'm lost 40 seconds, there's still plenty of places to gain time still, as you'll see later on. Like there is like I said, Galdera has a noticeable amount of variance, and that's primarily because of encounter luck and such. But yeah, we'll also after this teach Therion Hard Worker. We don't really need it for Gaston because he's not going to give us much JP, or a noticeable amount of JP at least. And we kind of want to delay it anyways because Ulbricht then gets to become a merchant. It's just a more efficient menu. But yeah, here you get to see hilarious parts because Ulbricht just happens to be really rich, thanks to us, and you know, it's an honorable battle, also known as throwing money at people to do his bidding, so it's always hilarious to talk about it when you're doing a marathon commentary. Yeah, we give Therion boost start and hard worker, and we're gonna give Tress a dancer because we don't really need her as a scholar, or we don't really need Alphins for these chapters. Technically, Alphins is faster than Aelfric, but most of Ulbricht's chapters require everything to be killed. It's not everything to be killed, so that's why we just don't need a scholar on Tressa. We pretty much really do want to grab the dancer buffs, and yeah, you also notice there I also clip the BT staff on Ophi. I want her to be slow for this chapter because most of these chapter 2 arena encounters don't die to ×2. So that's why we want Ophi to be slow so that we have a chance to be able to boost her BP. But yeah, Pogaken money is fake news. Yeah, most of these arena encounters are generally pretty straightforward. You just want Ophi to not be first. There is a way around this. Only this fight if Ophi is first, and you can use a Wind L to make up for it. But the rest of the bosses, you can technically also, I think, use Soul Stones, but you really do not want to be using extra Soul Stones. So go through this a bit. It's cutscenes, and then yeah. So Joshua, Victorino, and Justin and Victorino required time or like fully boosted Lux and Tenebrae respectively. And I think in this fight, Ophi was first because this game is great. So I lose. So you lose the JP bonus because it's not the first turn, which in some cases is crucial. Especially like if you're playing on a very low JP route. Or if you're on like a very low JP route. But thankfully, since I killed all the necessary encounters, it's not a big deal. I just lose time here. So Victorino, no, not Victor. So Archibald actually requires a little bit more damage than in addition to fully boosted Tenebrae. But Therion, just using daggers, takes care of it. I think she's like 300 damage off. But yeah, Therion was right before Ophi here, so I can't do it. So I just have to throw an M-Stone. Or I guess I could use bandits here, but using an M-Stone here is better. And yeah, last fight is Gustav. Gustav's pretty straightforward. Ideally, also you want Ophi last, but if you have Ophi first, you have to use Aelfrix. And unfortunately, it happened here. So I actually lose a noticeable amount of time because Aelfrix is an extra skill animation, or damage / skill animation. And Ophi's last, so I had to sit through all of Gustav's attacks. So in my PV, I lost like 20 seconds to like not equipping Olbrich properly. So like this is basically a split I should have gained timed on, but unfortunately did not because I got very unlucky. So yeah, that's basically that for the Olbrich 2 chapters. So we're gonna... So in, you know, classic walk save fashion, we'll be basically teleporting and going around here because you save like 3 seconds from not walking all the way back to the inn here. And then here I'm just gonna do the menu here to remove some stuff because Olbrich no longer needs armor. He's a tanky boy. So you're gonna see the same thing again here in chapter 4. We can skip around this part because it's just cutscenes. So we want the knowledge staff on Ophi at pretty much all times now because Ophi can afford to kill everything pretty fast. And we won't need the BT staff until much later on. But yeah, the next encounter here is just lizards, where ideally you want Ophi first, of course. And also I should mention that keeping track of your XP is crucial here because if you level to 38 early, you actually need to heal SP on Ophi. So since I know I leveled up to 38 after Gustav, I basically did not need to heal SP. So pretty straightforward fight. Ophi's first. For these fights, Ophi tends to be first. You know, the laws of the speed actually play a good role here. But yeah, here you can also get another encounter. I think this one's a much lower chance to fail to escape, since Olbrich naturally does more fights here, and Olbrich's higher level. But it's like kind of rare. It's like less than 10% to get an encounter here. But yeah, we get funny lizard Min King here. Having ads before Ulfi and Therion is very annoying because they have this animation where... Actually, an animation where it's like they're defending the lizard meme king, but this is actually probably the best turn order you can get here. Because we have Ulfi and Therion before the lizard, or after the lizard meme king, you're guaranteed to not have to deal with the ads. But yeah, very smooth fight overall. Most people split here after Lizard Min King, but I personally just split after Erdheart. Because for me it makes more sense. But yeah, again here, the power of money prevails. We're gonna use Soulstone, an L-Stone to weaken him, and then he just dies to a fully boosted vets. We don't even need to break him. So much for an honorable fight with your old friend. Funny enough here, if you die here, it's actually a game over. But yeah, here is actually where you want to hit an important threshold, which is 8k JP on Ulfi, so that she can learn Boost Start and BP Eater, which is very important, which is pretty important for the next couple fights. Technically you could do it without it, but you lose a noticeable amount of time and it's going to pay back against you later on. And you also just want to do it here anyways because we want to do the entire menu for Ulbrich. So again here, because we don't want to walk all the way back, we are just going to go do a detour because we need to go to Saints Bridge anyways to buy the Fort L. So I guess one big change here, like from the really old Galdera routes, is that instead of when we use Abers for damage, but we used to use Winnehilds, and Winnehilds, while it's definitely powerful and generally only needed 1 cast or 2 casts, but you needed a lot of items to repair, and that's a lot of money, and the menus are just very easy to mess up. Also, more power of money here. You can just 3-turn with an L, or the palm L here. But yeah, basically, the big advantage to Abers is that it's a faster animation, but you also need much less items for it to work, because for Therion you just need a powerful dagger, which we'll be getting the Viper dagger later on, and we just need a BT sword. And that's basically it. But I'll talk about that strat more in detail when we get there. But yeah, now we have enough JP here, and we're gonna put we're gonna take that opportunity to also get a boost start on Tressa. And then also to finish up Ulbrich's menus, which he'll be keeping for the entire time because nobody else switches to a thief. So we take out Augmented and Stronger Strikes because we no longer need it. We no longer also need King Tough because that's more useful for the mid game. And yeah, now that we have BP Eater, which deals a significant amount more damage based on the amount of BP you use, as well as Boost Start, which means now even the Chapter 4 encounters will get 2-turned. Except for one of them. But yeah, you can also get an encounter in the sewers here. Very annoying if you do. You're kind of at the point where you can't take care of most of them, but if Ulfi's not first, you just lose a ton of time. And funny enough, you can also get an encounter in the Manse here. It's like also under a 10% chance, but it's really bad if you get it as well. unsurprisingly. Basically, at the top end of runs, you basically just do not want to get any extra encounters, and you're kind of praying that you don't. But yeah, here, the only danger is Werner, terroring someone, but you can get around that if you kill on turn 3, but since we have a pretty good turn order here, we don't need to break Werner. And we have Ulbrich here to deal with any unfortunate events, which I believe here, Ulfi does get no, she doesn't. That's somewhere else. Okay, and yeah. Now that everyone's now that all our relevant characters have boost start, we get everything we need up on turn 2, and we can basically blow up bosses. And we don't even need Elemental Break or Peacock for it. But yeah, here we after this we do a couple more noticeable detours. We want to grab the captain's badge for more XP. Yeah, I'm commentating my PB. But yeah, we want the captain's badge here because even though we don't need levels entirely, levels are still very useful because there's a hidden damage multiplier based on your level. And in a category like this where we had to deal with very high level bosses and we're basically on the bare minimum, we basically kind of need all the levels we can get. And so we're gonna do the Back of Bale side quest for the captain's badge for more XP. That's also why we grabbed Alphen and Haunted. And yeah, this is actually a nice discount, but unfortunately with this route you need that plus another big discount to skip a lot of stuff, so later on I make the decision to just sell most of my stuff, or just to sell my stuff in general. But yeah, now that we're have basically all the big ticket items that we need, we just basically need to finish the rest of this game because Haunted and Prim don't really offer that much in terms of usefulness, after we finish their story. So we're gonna put Therion back over Alphen, and then we also bought the BT sword, which is very important on Therion because it basically acts like a free line dance boost damage-wise, and that's gonna be very important to deal a lot of damage on final bosses because Therion's gonna become a damage dealer. But yeah, we also save a bunch of soulstones here because the only way Hana can deal damage to these is through soulstones, and most of these guys are unfortunately pretty beefy, so we have a lot of soulstones at our disposal here. And it's also convenient to do Haunted Chapter next because after this Archibald appears here and we can buy the Double Tomahawk, which the Double Tomahawk is a very useful breaking tool because basically it'll hit twice for each BP used, so it can hit up to 8 times, which is extremely good, and it's actually the big ticket item for one of the final bosses that we deal with. So not much to do here, but yeah, so the way my personal soulstone routing works is that you don't have to see all the soulstones in Whisper Mill, but I just personally do because it allows me to become a lot more aggressive with my soulstone usage. In general. So yeah, for this one you need So for the last fight, you needed 2 fire L's, or you can use a thunder L in place if you have the lizard king axe. So if you the lizard king axe increases your lightning damage by I believe 1.5 times, and this also applies to soul stones. So if you have like some thunderstones but you're low on like other supplies, you can choose to use put on the lizard king axe. But with my personal soulstone routing, I choose to skip it just because it's a little bit annoying to equip. Because when you optimize, you're automatically given the Death Cleaver. But yeah, this tree is also pretty beefy. But we're still, despite this, we need a little bit extra damage, and Darion deals a actually pretty respectable amount of damage with the BT sword. So we tend to use BT sword for a little bit of the extra oomph. But yeah, keep in mind I also like basically steal all the fort nuts I can, because Darion actually needs every single one of them in order to be able to just hit enough damage for the end game. But yeah, thankfully chapter 3 is the last chapter we need to save up to use our soul stones for, and also the reason why we save a good amount of our shadow stones, because Alaeg's only elemental weaknesses to shadow stones. I also don't know why I went in here. I just had a moment TM. But yeah, you'll see here, thanks to like good menuing and just like better playing, like I'm steadily still like gaining time in my run overall. But yeah, since I tend to prefer having 2 shadow L's here so that I can just like do rapid menus here and not have to worry about like other stones, because the other way you can do this is only with 1 shadow L and you using a Thunder L as the last one. Or using 1 Shadow L, 1 Shadow M, and then the Thunder L. But I just personally prefer my way, since I just had to worry less about Soulstone routing, and I can afford to be more aggressive with Soulstones earlier. But yeah, Haunted 3 is one of the areas where you just tend to lose time. Or Haunted Chapters is like pretty decisive on time loss, etc., because there's a lot of like long walking you have to do, and every encounter you get, which you have a chance of failing to escape, by the way, loses you about 7 to 8 seconds. So I didn't get an encounter in this here, so like I just basically got like really lucky. But yeah, a lot of these bosses are also really simple, just because they're really powerful, and you can afford to do 2-turn kills on basically anything. Or almost anything, I should say. And also because Dragon's normally pretty chonky. So yeah, we're just gonna break Dragon and then just kill with the Elephants and Ignis. So you'll also notice, like, early on and at the end of Obrecht 2, I started a quest in Sunshade. that's a very important quest to do because it gives us the trade wind spear, which boosts okay, I was wrong about the lizard max earlier. It does increase damage by 1.5. It increases elemental damage for that particular element by 1.3. My bad. Brain lag. And that's going to be very crucial because one of the endgame strats involves getting both of the wind elemental boosting weapons and turning Tressa, and who can wield like the Trade Wind's bow and then the Primeval bow, which both boost wind damage and turn Tressa into a big magic menace, I should say. But yeah, we're gonna guide Maruf here. So if you were doing Cyrus start, you would have to get Prim to do this, and guiding and alluring Maruf is a 25% chance, or 28% chance. Sorry, and and if it doesn't work in your favor, you're gonna lose a lot of time. But yeah, Haunt's also one of the crucial chapters because if you get an encounter and Ulfi isn't first, you tend to lose a decent amount of time because most of the encounters are 4. Or at least 3 to 4 mobs, so pretty noticeable time loss. And technically you're still pretty much under-leveled for that area. And so thankfully here I did not get the encounter in the first area. And that's really, really good because ideally I want to only kill the encounter in the second area and then the Prim 3 encounter, which is pretty much mandatory, and you always get that encounter. But yeah, I would dare say, like, at low 322, you're gonna have to start, like, begging for Ophi to be first for, like, or, like, an ideal turn. Have Ophi in an ideal turn encounters so that you save as much time as possible. But yeah, Red Eye, I don't heal SP here because Red Eye only needs 144 SP to kill. And most of the time, so Red Eye can actually kill Ophi or Haunt. I think Haunt's required to live this one, but you can basically get around that by just doing a 3-turn kill, but it's pretty rare for Red Eye to kill someone because you do have Tressa with cover, which takes care of things. But yeah, since I got basically an ideal Haunt for, I gain a pretty significant amount of time, as you'll see here. So yeah, gaining 20 seconds is actually pretty big at this point, like really big, because we're approaching the end game, pretty much. So yeah, we're gonna finish Ali's side quest here, so that we can get the Trade Wind Spear, since it's on the way. And then I also make the choice to just sell items here, because you can technically delay buying the Viper Dagger, which if I had sold later, or if I had not done the selling, I would not have likely have had money, but like, I just prefer buying the Viper Dagger ASAP just because it makes the menus a little bit nicer, and you do have to take a slight detour to be able to buy the Viper Dagger, so... And the sell menu here takes about the same amount of time, honestly. So the reason why we do Prim last is that she doesn't really offer anything. and her final boss and her chapter 4 boss is 2 parts, so also very annoying to deal with unless like we're really overpowered, and even that boss can become a slight annoyance at times. So now that we do start Prim 2, like, most of the bosses are just like very easy and very straightforward, so I'm just gonna skip through just cutscene parts, because there's nothing really significant that we do. But yeah, at this point, Albus is just really easy. Like, we don't even need Peacock or anything like that, we just go in with magic and... Or Rufus, sorry, not Albus. Though Rufus is also really... Albus is also really easy, yeah. We just need to Nitrous and Holy Light and a little bit of damage from Therion, and that's basically it. But yeah, there is one more pretty big detour that we do, and that's to get the Primeval Bow, which is also going to be useful for Albus and Simeon coming up. But yeah, this is like the other big difference with Ophi Sork, is that we can guide Alaic for free, and we don't have to rely on the game of chance with Primrose. And this is also where we buy some items here since we finished the Ulrich chapters. Especially the battle-tested axe, which increases ice and light damage, and it's actually a really good axe, and we'll be using it much later on, but not right now. But yeah, straightforward fight here. Nice fight because Ophi's first. We always want Ophi first, where we can reliably one-hit without any boost. So I'm gonna skip through here because we're just gonna start Prim 3. So, but after a bunch of cutscenes here, we'll teach some skills here. We're gonna give the Primeval Bow to Ophi, and then we're gonna teach Prim Peacock and Panther, because it can come in useful for Simeon, and HP Thief because it comes in useful for Simeon, and it'll make later menus a little bit more efficient. But yeah, to note here, you'll notice sometimes you get a glitch. It's more devastating than the single story Prim run, where you don't see the chest in the safe zone here. I don't know what causes it still. I think if you click OK too fast or something like that, but yeah, neat little glitch. Not fun in single story, but it's funny to see in a full story category. Or a not single story category, but yeah. This is a guaranteed encounter that we get, and having Ophi first here again is really nice. You also notice that I want to, like, especially keep track of XP here, because I want to know when Ophi and everyone levels. So, thing is that Ophi and Therion will level around the same time, but Tressa, since she has Kate XP, will level at a slightly different time. But yeah, Albus is really simple. All you need is Alphins and Ventus, and that deals enough damage to deal with him properly. Yeah, I see everyone leveled there, which kind of tells me that they won't level after Simeon 1, so basically knowing that information helps so that I can try to manipulate turn order for Simeon 1 into my advantage. Which, by the way, Simeon is a 2-part fight, and for Simeon 1, we also had to do a bunch of stuff. But yeah, here we're going to be doing more purchases here, because we do need the Sharp L, since the last couple bosses can dodge a decent bit, and it sucks for Therion and the crit L. Because the crit L will be... I think how it's calculated is that at a certain point, some, like, for Avers, like, you'll crit, like, almost 100, like, 99% of the time or something like that. When you use Avers. I don't know how the calculation works, but I just know that, the crit L is very important, because you kind of need a crit to hit on one of the final bosses with Therion. But yeah, this is another place where you can get an encounter here. If you had dodged both of the Haunted 4 encounters, you would probably kill the encounter here. But yeah, so Simeon 1, you have to do a lot of things. You actually want to steal a certain item from the puppet lady. And that item is a mental belt. But you also want to mitigate damage because they deal a lot of damage, and especially if you don't level up in Simeon 2 still kind of hurts, so... You want to make sure everyone is topped up to the best of your abilities. And it's also a pretty much easy fight to mess up because there's just a lot you have to deal with the cursor. But the best advice I can give you is, if you have Prim have a full turn, do not defend. That's a pretty sound advice, because when you defend, it messes with the cursor. But yeah, we do Tenebrae here so that we make sure we break Simeon and the steal on the dancer. Or the puppet lady is 100%. But yeah, I do notice Therion has a free turn, that's why I healed. And I just take this opportunity to heal Ulfi because it'll set the cursor to be something good. But yeah. I steal the mental belt here because it'll be extremely useful for the end game. And then Ventus takes care of Simeon 1. So I noticed that, yeah, as I suspected, nobody here leveled, so I know that I probably might have to be very careful because it's a possibility Ulfi can die. It's not a big deal if Ulfi dies, honestly, because I can restore back her BP and just extend the turn 3. But ideally, I do not want to have to do that, and ideally Simeon does not silence, because he's guaranteed to silence someone, and it's about a 50% chance to silence the quote-unquote correct person. But yeah, and here unfortunately Ulfi gets silenced here, so I had to just take this into a turn 3. It wastes like 10 seconds or so maximum, but still a little bit annoying. And since yeah, you need at least either Elemental Break or Peacock, and then Elephants to kill, so since I didn't get it, I just had to Peacock Ulfi. But yeah, so yeah, you'll notice we do Cyrus' chapter 4 like really late, and that's because Lucia's like just like a really tough boss. Like, you basically do not want to break her because she has 80 shields. She does have pretty low HP. I think she has like 70k HP or something like that. 70-80k, like the lowest of all the chapter 4s, but she's really tanky, and she has 30 shields, so you do not want to break her. You do not want to waste time breaking her. It would take like 5 turns to break her, and that's basically a waste of time. But yeah, here, since I know I have enough money from buying the Viper Dagger earlier, I can just buy everything and not worry about it. Again, you can delay it, because you can buy the Viper Dagger and Dust Barrel, but I just prefer to buy it immediately. And yeah, since we don't need Ulfi anymore, we grab Cyrus, because he actually needs a bunch of JP. And he'll be part of the Finis crew. Thanks for the raid, Chambers. I hope your stream went well. Thank you, thank you. I'm just doing a commentary for my Octo PB. But yeah, basically after killing that encounter, we do have enough to learn Hang Tough on Cyrus, which is necessary for Lucia, of course, since we still need to tank at least one hit from her. So we also do a giant menu here with Ophi, so that we learn all the Rune Lord skills, except for Balogars, of course, since we don't have enough for it. And then we take the time to learn all of Tressa's warrior skills since it's close to us, and then we learn Hang Tough, so... We also gear up Ophi specifically in a way. Also, we learn Hunter on Cyrus. We gear Ophi specifically so that she can survive Darius, because Darius deals a lot of damage. And we also no longer need to put the Badge of Friendship on Tressa. So that's fine. And yeah, we no longer need Boost Start because Elemental Edge gives us a free Peacock. Shred ability. And yeah, Hang Tough on Cyrus because we need it. And I believe, like, when we get through here, it's, like, a really low chance to get an encounter here, but if you do get the encounter here, you're kind of crying a little bit. So the reason why we pretty much save Lucia for last, and also we have the win or the primeval bow, is that with everything we have just enough damage to one hit Lucia without even needing to break her, because ain't nobody got time to go through 30 shields. And yeah, the increased HP there again is to tank Darius, because Darius deals a ton of damage. And we don't really need like that much magic boosting gear on Ophi, because now she has the BT Saf back on. And yeah, I will also get a pretty nice gold here just from good menuing in general. Always practice your menus. And yeah, as you can see here, I deal just enough damage to kill her. And yeah, it's also important to note that I hit level 45 here because 45 is the minimum level. There's a reason why we leave Darius until the very end, and that's because Darion's steals require him to be a pretty high level. And when we hit 45, the steal increases to 55% from, I think, 35 or 15%? Or something ridiculous like that. And that's basically why we want to hit 45, so that we can quickly do Darius, because we do not want to have to deal with 50% steals, or heavens forbid, in like an AMS, an 8% steal chance. Like, it's not great. But yeah, skipping along here, you can actually still get an encounter in here when you get to the mural. It's pretty rare, but also very annoying. I also want to note that earlier on, like, you can also choose to get the 20k before Lucia, like if you're low on, if you need the extra money. And yeah, I don't skip the cutscene for that first prompt here because it immediately goes to that second prompt. But yeah, since after finishing Cyrus's chapters, we can also steal the second elemental augmenter, which is going to be extremely useful for Tressa. Once we hit the gate of Finis. And then now, since we're 45 to steal here, which we're stealing that these close here is 55%. And it's good to note that the Darius split is the last place where you can get a Chapter 4 encounter and fail to flee from it, and it's a noticeable chance to get the encounter too, so a little annoying that you walk long distances in Darien 4 as well, but that's just how it is of Galdera. And all the matter important to make sure that your movement is good in general, so that you can best reduce your chances of getting an encounter. But yeah, you still do need to break Darius, but thankfully he doesn't have many shields, so not a huge deal. And since we did a very specific gear setup, everyone can now tank both hits from Darius, and if Cyrus, and if needed, Trustin can cover for Cyrus just fine. Yeah, one of the most important menus, a couple menus here, is coming up soon here once we finish this part and then finish the last of the kit side quest. And yeah, also completing Therion 4 conveniently puts us near Boulder Fall, which is where the last side quest that we're doing to unlock Galdera is. So for safety, I just choose to do that menu there just in case I mess it up so that I can just easily reload. Doesn't really matter when you do that menu once you get the last Fort L in during Therion 4. And so now for this last part, we have to defeat this, another big kitty. Unfortunately here, ideally you want anyone before Ophi, but, you know, in classic RNG fashion, Ophi's first. Because we need a fully boosted Ventus to deal with big kitty. And yeah, now we can travel to the ruins of Holmberg, which is where we can face the secret TM final boss. And so we're going to do a huge menu here, so now Ulfi becomes the Rune Blade and we give her the BT Axe. And basically we just give her enough magic damage items and to be able to hit max cap damage. And then we do basically finish almost all of Tress's skill menus there. Like, basically, we used to do basically everything at once in the older routes, but now we basically split it across like multiple different segments, which is nicer because like a good tip for like learning Finis is like when you do that menu, you can generally use that like while you're doing some of these fights as a way to determine if Ulfi and Tress have their correct setup. Because if you find that Tressa's not doing as much damage as she should be, then you know that you've kind of done the menu wrong and you need to fix something. But yeah, this is the Gate of Finis. You face 8 bosses at once and then 2 parts of the super boss, and you split, and you have to use all 8 of your party members, so... Thankfully, we can do it in fast fashion here. This Miguel's pretty simple, because we just break and use Balagor, which deals a ton of damage. Some of the bosses will need a little bit more than Balagars, like Simeon and Dragon, for example. You also notice I put the Mighty Belt on Therion. That's just for... He actually does need that extra damage, as well as all those nuts. Yeah, this is also another boss that can take 3 turns. Or this is a boss that can take 3 turns, like if he silences the wrong person at the wrong time. But yeah, he also does try to double target Cyrus here. So we have Cyrus for these 2 fights because they'll give him enough to learn Allophins and become a dancer, because he'll be used for some really important parts in for Galdera. And so we don't need Cyrus any longer, and we actually don't need the badge, but so we're gonna equip Alphen and Ulbrich here. So we give Ulbrich a bunch of speed gear, and we give Alphen the double tomahawk. We want Ulbrich to be really fast. That's why we stole all those speed items, because we want him to be faster than Therion, who's admittedly already pretty fast. But we want ideal turn orders, which I'll explain later on. But yeah, this is Dragon. Straightforward fight. You need a bit more than Balagor because Dragon is pretty tanky, so... Technically, you could also just use Trade Winds ×2 on Tressa, but I also just like to flex with Vets here, because Vets work. Yeah, this is a fight where I lose like a decent amount of time because I was trying to do an alternate way of breaking Darius, but I did not realize that Tressa was before Ophi, so I had to hit an unwanted break, and of course I missed, so I had to kill on turn 3 instead. A very annoying stuff, but yeah, somehow Tressa tanks that, thankfully, so... Since I don't have Elemental Break, I have to wait till turn 3 to kill. And yeah, that actually loses me a pretty noticeable amount of time, because my Finis was... My endgame Finis was really good. It's like 1304, which is like... incredibly good. Like, I would consider an average to be around 1330 or so, depending on RNG. But like, I just got hit with bad luck, because Tressa decided to miss Elemental Break. Because ideally for these fights, you want to be able to break them before they get an action in, so that generally means like having Alphen first. But yeah, here we're gonna do another little mini-hoo to get everyone's divine skills, and then have Therion become warrior because he no longer needs to be a merchant. So we get Aelfrix here on Ophi, we get Doters on Alphen, and then Abers on Therion. One nice menuing tip is that after you learn their divine skill, you can immediately just move on to the next person. But yeah, Yvonne here is a little different because he comes with ads. Of course, they're very annoying. So you need a little bit of extra damage. And this is another good place to check Tressa's damage because she should be dealing around 13k damage to everything here. The Ventus. Else none of them would die. But yeah, I mean, Tiger is also pretty straightforward. You just go for a turn 2 kill. You do have to, Tiger does have quite a few shields, so that's why we break on turn 2. So Werner is a little bit different because we actually want Therion to die. And the reason why we want Therion to die is because after this we'll be able to revive him, and we actually want him at 1 HP. Because we'll be doing the classic good ol' Fortitude strat with Therion. So I'm gonna taunt here because Werner pretty much very easily kills anything, honestly, so it's convenient. But we still do have to heal Therion a bit so that he doesn't die way too early. Okay, as you see here, Therion's going to die. We're just gonna break with Alphen. But yeah, since due to the slower Darius fight, I do lose like a noticeable amount of time here. So yeah, see there, it's important to never heal Therion because that means the strat doesn't work and you're gonna be in big trouble. But yeah, first final big menu. Or final big menu here because we're gonna teach basically everyone here the last skills that they need, so we basically just need to get Prim, Hang Tough, and cover. And then Hunter for leg hold. And then Cyrus gets to learn elephants here and becomes a dancer. And then Therion gets the rest of his more master skills, not Winnehild, and then so we give Haunted Merchant in case we need donate BP or like extra damage for the very rare case. But yeah, we're gonna learn the last couple skills here. And then we generally want Therion and Tressa first in the party just because when we do defense on people, it's much easier to basically do the speed menu. I should mention too that I have a very specific way of handling my pomegranate count, and I intentionally use the last of either my M or my S palm so that I can spam use the palm Ls. But yeah, here, this is the eye. You basically don't want to see Tressa and Ophi before the eye, because that means you need Alphen before, or Ophi first before the eye on turn 2. You basically kind of want a staggered turn so that you have you can heal in between the eye. So that people don't die, because your characters are only able to tank one at a time. But yeah, since I know that since I saw that Alphen was before Cyrus, I had a free turn to heal. So which is very good. And then here we're just gonna give Tressa every single buff and a book here for the most part. I think someone calculated and it's like Tressa does 46 point something times the amount of usual damage, but yeah. We killed the ad here specifically on turn 3 so that Alphen's able to break with Axe here because the eye is weak to Axe. And then we basically fully buff up Tressa here. So you lose a little bit of time for having Ulfi before Tressa here because of that, but not a big deal. And because we give Tressa every single buff and book and all the magic gear we could possibly want, she does about 300 80k damage to the eye. The eye has 500k HP, by the way, and then Ulfi does the rest of the damage. Okay, so that's phase 1 done. So phase 2, basically, Tharion's the main damage dealer. We want anyone before Tharion. But we want Tharion before the Maul, because if the Maul gets a turn, the Maul can do its 1-hit ability, or the Maul can do like a 3-hit magic ability which kills everyone, and we are not equipped to deal with that ever, and we do not want to deal with that, so we are basically just hoping for a good turn order here. Which we do. Spoilers. Ideally, I would want Tharion first on turn 2. So that I can, Panther Dance Tharion for more damage. Because you do need a little bit of extra damage to kill the blade here. And ideally, I think Lifelike has a chance of casting protection if she gets a turn, so that's why I just leg hold her for safety. So you want someone before Tharion so that he can someone can give him palms or BP. But if he's first, you would do the alternate strat of using Warner's sword, and then the fight would be about 40 seconds longer. There's ways to manipulate turn order, but it's just hard to say because there's just a lot going on in this fight in general. But yeah, good turn order here so that I don't have to use leg hold. And then you can use Nightmare Chimera here to deal damage to the main body. The main body has 100k HP, so just to set some Nightmare Chimera is more than enough. And you yeet Werner's sword, which everyone hates, but has a good purpose here. And thankfully has 100% accuracy to kill the main body, and that's Galdera. So I did lose time in the gauntlet because for phase 2, like, I just took it a little slow and I had to use a little bit more abilities because of the ideal turn order, so, which is fine. But the gauntlet, I lost a good amount of time to Darius trolling. But to be fair, my gauntlet and my PB was extremely good. So overall, this run had above average luck. Like, it didn't have the best luck, and I made a couple minor mistakes, but I had luck in the places where I needed, basically, and that's, at this level, this is kind of what you need for a good Galdera fight. And that's a lot more than what I can ask for, because getting this time is not as simple as you think it is. But can this time be beaten? Yes, it can very much be beaten. You can get a very low 322 with this route, because I do lose a significant amount of time from especially for Ogre Eagle, because I'm not supposed to get that encounter. I'm supposed to kill the Windheld encounter instead. But basically, I'm happy with this run because at this level, like, you basically around this time and below, like, you have to start relying more on like encounter RNG and taking like a lot more risk. And just generally, like, early game luck in general. My early game was honestly, like, pretty average. Like, I got ambushed all the way through Dracing, so, like, that's not very ideal. That probably saves, like, around, like, not getting ambushed there probably saves around, like, 30 seconds in total. So, like, this run can very still be beaten, and you don't need a Kate mod to beat this. If you can do this Kateless, but you're going to need much better RNG to make up for like the minute 30 to 2 minutes of time loss against this route, which is actually more because Kate route now skips Cyrus entirely until later on, which is a noticeable time save. So, I'm happy with this time. Technically I could grind to a 322, but Octopath 2 is coming out, so I think this is a very good time to stop on, and I'm sure there's someone out there who can beat this time. Kate mod or not. But yeah, I will upload this video. I do have a written version of it. I do have a written version of it coming up. Because, I do prefer written versions. And I think a written version sometimes can be more valuable than me talking for 3 hours straight. But yeah, there's still plenty of things that did not go correctly in this run, so there's enough variance in this run to where a lot can matter, and just having a better run than this can get you a better time. But I'm happy I was able to get a low 323 because the last two 323 pace runs I got Therion killed it, so very unfortunate, but that's kind of how it goes in Galdi speedruns. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming to the commentary and asking questions. Thanks for the sub and the raids. I won't be streaming next week. I'll see what I will stream for Octo 2, but it'll probably be for routing stuff, but I'm not a really good router, so I will probably throw myself at something very badly, or I'll probably mooch off of someone. But I'll try my best to enjoy this game casually first before I dive into the speedruns. Like, I'm happy I ended with this because I did do Galdi for about a month's worth of content because I got bored of Xenoblade 2. So, yeah, that's basically it. If nobody has any questions about the run, then I'll raid someone.